the last 13 seconds of that Kansas City Chief game, and I don't want to bring up scars, right? I don't want to bring up something that was fairly recent, but that sucked. It really sucked. What I really enjoyed, though, was how Josh Allen, and he had a quote that said, like, yes, this hurts right now, it stings, but you can't, and I'm paraphrasing here, I don't know the quote exactly, but he said something along the lines, you gotta like what the future holds for us in this, this team. And this segment is 13 reasons to be excited for the Buffalo Bills. So here's week 1 of 13. And we're just going to carry this for as long as we can, obviously, into the 13 weeks. And after each week, we're not going to do repeats, and we're just going to go for it. So, Justin, I'm going to pick the first reason for us to be excited, 1 of 13. And I'm hard-pressed for you to disagree with me on this point, but I'm going to say I'm most optimistic. Reason number 1 is Brandon Beane.
Okay.
I could have gone player here, could have gone coach, but I'm going straight to the top with Brandon Beane. And I'll tell you why I'm picking Brandon Beane as number 1. And there's no order of like, oh, he's the most important reason and number 13 isn't. Like, I'm just picking reasons. Like, there's no hierarchy on this list. Just reasons in general. But I watched that 71 or 2-minute exit interview that he had with the media, and he opened it off by saying, like, you could just feel the emotion in his voice. I'm really sorry we couldn't get it done. Like, we got home at like 3 a.m. and there's Bills Mafia at the airport, and I just felt sick to my stomach. I was fully expecting boos. I wanted to boo at me, but you guys just came out and was cheering, and he said he wanted to get everyone hugs and that he was truly sorry that the team couldn't get it done, and he was just very candid, and it was refreshing to see that kind of level of emotion with someone of Brandon Beane's caliber, because as the GM, he's realistically a businessman. But it was great to see that he was human at the same time. And when he was asked all these hard questions like, hey, what are we going to do with, Mario Addison or Emmanuel Sanders? He didn't say like, yeah, we'll they're not coming back or something. He said, if it makes sense, we'll talk to him, but the money has to make sense. And when he got asked questions about Cole Beasley, he's like, yeah, I would fully anticipate him being back. You could listen to his responses, and if you were paying attention enough, you got the answer that you need to hear from Brandon Beane in all 71 minutes, which is great. Now, he also said he's not going to be a big, spender in free agency because the Bills don't have that much cap space. And he said he's probably going to have to move some numbers around, which is something he doesn't want to do, but he will probably have to do it to make this team competitive. But all in all, I'm just really optimistic of Brandon Beane's leadership of the Buffalo Bills, because he's just an honest dude. Like, he's an honest dude, and I feel like I can connect with him, even though I've never met the man, and he's financially responsible. He understands that if he moves contracts around, or that he can't retain certain people back just to bring them back, and the value has to be there, and he's so aware that everything needs to be a calculated decision in order for it to make sense for the Buffalo Bills to be successful in the future.
So a lot there, but very well said. And I like your first answer of Brandon Beane here. And I think that last year, post-draft, there was a lot of talk of, well, what did he do to make the Bills better this year? And, yeah, we got some good pieces that should be able to develop and help us maybe 2-3 years down the line, but we're right on the cusp of the Super Bowl. How are we getting over the hump this year? And with the results of the season, it's kind of still easy to argue that point, but what I like about Brandon Beane is, like you said, in the press conference, yes, him as a businessman is a different person, but also seeing him up there as just like, at the same time, like another emotionally invested Bills fan with a lot more at stake. So a lot of criticism last year for double dipping at the defensive end position. Well, easy to have that criticism going into a season where we had, as much depth as we did. But now you get to this year and, what's going to happen with Jerry Hughes? What's going to happen with Mario Addison? Those are two very key pieces on the defense that were getting 40-50% of the snaps, and there's a chance that one or both of them are gone. So you could have been going into this free agency, this draft, having another 2 holes to fill. And what I really like about Brandon Beane is, you're talking about his fiscal responsibility, and you see, kind of, we might get upset in the moment that, we wanted a stud cornerback too. Like, for example, that's something I was looking for in the draft. But I think he's kind of determined that as long as he has Josh Allen as his quarterback, that Super Bowl window is open. So it's kind of, what can we do to keep the rest of the team around him competing? And then you kind of see the polar opposite of the Los Angeles Rams team right now. If I was a fan of the Rams, I would be scared shitless after this season, because they're really toying with the kind of the idea that the salary cap is made up and you can push money around and blah blah blah. But I mean, they're moving all their draft picks to do it. They're spending money like crazy and restructuring and kicking things down the road. That all comes to a head at some point, and whether it's this year, 2 years, 3 years, it's going to come to get them in the meantime. So it's kind of, how many years of your franchise do you want to mortgage on going for it all for 1 or 2 years of Super Bowl? And yeah, I would love to be watching the Bills lift the trophy at the end of the year. But I think I would also, at the same time, rather know that we have a chance to be competitive for 10 years versus mortgaging it all on a 2 to 3 year window.
Yeah, where that 2 to 3 window isn't guaranteed.
Right.
Is that what you're saying? Okay. Because, part of initially I was like, well, if the Bills could win a Super Bowl next year and we go to 10 years of, previous, like pre-Sean McDermott, Brandon Beane era, I'm thinking to myself, like, well, maybe that deal will look a little sweeter and sweeter every minute.
Yeah, it's a spicy idea, but you're looking at, it's working out for them this year.
Super Bowl gang.
What if you have Matthew Stafford go down week 1 of next year? Where are you at now? And you don't have like any draft capital to continue building the team around him, so you're going to have to just keep spending money on free agents, and
yeah,
it's a tough cycle.
Yes, it is. And I'm, going back to your point, this is why I personally wanted Brandon Beane to be one of 13 reasons why we should be optimistic for the Buffalo Bills. He is smart. Big Baller Beane is smart. And, we have the power of hindsight, and I'll just go over this real quickly. But, some of these contracts that he handed out, such as the John Feliciano one, maybe not looking too hot right now, but he can also get cut after this season. Then you look at Darrell Williams, like, he's kind of getting tackle money for a guard position, and not looking that great. Also, that can get fixed and resolved real quickly. But let's take a step back. 1 year ago, when Brandon Beane was able to re-sign John Feliciano, and we were like, oh, we got him back, and then we got, we signed what we thought was the answer at right tackle, which was Darrell Williams, and we were so infatuated. We were like, oh, we got the line back. The gang's getting back together. This is great. Josh Allen's gonna have ultimate protection. And then what does Brandon Beane do right after that? And I don't know if it's in this exact order, but you're getting the idea. Then he brings Matt Milano back. Boom. He brought back so many people. Isaiah McKenzie, Levi Wallace, all these people. And that's what we wanted as Bills fans. He got us, and from what he knew at the time, in the direction where we needed to go. And with the power of hindsight, yes, could we have gotten better in certain areas, or should we have handed out different contracts? Yeah, probably, but I don't think any of those were bad contracts, and I still don't think any of these are bad contracts. And if they were, and if they are, Brandon Beane is smart enough to build himself an exit door. Like if this is a highway analogy, he's got an exit ramp for each year. He's smart like that. So that's why I'm really excited and opportunistic of what he can do with the Buffalo Bills in their future. But Justin, I'll let you wrap up here, and then I think we're getting out of here, all right?
Yeah, just one of the other things I really like about Brandon Beane is he's not afraid to take the swings at the plate. We've seen him have some misses, and it's the NFL. Like every GM, team, organization takes swings on situations that don't work out. But what we've really seen from him, one of the first ones was bringing in Kelvin Benjamin. And I don't know about you, I was pretty hyped that Kelvin Benjamin was coming to town. And
I was very excited.
It was, a big-bodied receiver, catch radius, all the things that went with it.
1,000-yard rookie year season.
Yeah, and it was really exciting to bring in a player that had kind of that pedigree that we hadn't really seen GMs make the move for. And that was a dumpster fire. It went terribly. It ended up being a horrible decision. But you know what? He cut bait. He got out of that. He got Benjamin off the team. And we've seen that with other, the draft pick of Zay Jones not working out. Well, we missed this one and got him out of town.
That was McDermott, though. That was McDermott's pick.
True. They're in lockstep, so I'm going to give that one to. I'll give that one to Beane anyways. But the other thing I really like about Beane is kind of being ahead of the curve. And yes, he's had some misses in free agency, and I'm thinking of like Trent Murphy, Vernon Butler, kind of trying to bring in these guys to fill a role. But also at the same time, his drafting and letting players develop and then rewarding them with an extension. I think that's something that's underrated because the guys on the team see this happening and they're like, oh, okay, they appreciate what we're doing here. Players are getting extended early, and it's like, hey, man, thanks for your hard work. We're going to lock you up. And not only do I think that's great for like the team and the locker room and the morale, but I think it's also has a sneaky advantage fiscally. We see Trey White get his extension, and I believe he was the highest paid cornerback in the league for like an hour.
2 seconds.
And then,
let's do this before Jalen Ramsey or,
Jalen Ramsey
Byron Murphy.
And Lattimore came, I think it was in the same day. So not only did he have that benefit of kind of rewarding one of his guys ahead of the curve, but he also saved I think it was like $4 or $5 million annually just by getting it done early. So it's kind of a win-win in that situation, and I think that's something that doesn't really get talked about enough with Beane.